Let me share something else with you guys, because I see a lot. I see a lot of spirits, and God reveals to me what they look like. But I want to tell you guys something. I'm going to share some more hidden knowledge with you that I'm going to actually end up adding to some of the sequels. So, we know how there's a lot of witches and warlocks on this earth. It's not the ones that are openly admitting that they're witches and warlocks or openly admitting that they do spells that we have to be cautious of, and we have to use discernment. Because the ones that openly admit they do spells or openly call themselves witches or openly are showing who they are, like, these are usually the ones that it's not that they don't do a lot of dark stuff, but they're usually the ones that don't really dig really deep in it, right? The ones that dig really deep in it, as in they do a lot of animal sacrifices, as in like they killing people, they're tormenting people's minds, and these are usually the ones that are hidden. And they're hidden because these are the ones that usually have a specific contract. They have a contract and they have a covenant with the kingdom of darkness. So they're in their covenant, they have to be discreet, they have to disguise themselves, and many of them like to hide in careers that they have that requires them to have an authority position, and many of them hide in careers that, you know, give them a specific type of representation image, so no one would ever suspect that they're into the deep dark stuff. So they'll hide in careers like the medical industry, law enforcement, you know, a lot of them are in the churches. Like they literally hide in careers that require them to have some sort of authority, but a lot of them have to get into careers that where they will have some sort of control over someone who they may have an encounter with, who is gifted, who is chosen. So a lot of them like to hide in the psych wards. A lot of the witches and warlocks like to go into, that are into this deep dark stuff, like to go into the psych wards. Therefore, they can have more control of those who are gifted who come into the psych ward, and they can ensure that they're medicated, ensure they look as crazy as possible, keep an eye on them, basically. A lot of them like to hide in law enforcement. Therefore, they can fulfill the contract of trying to get as much of the chosen in jail. A lot of them like to also hide in the church in order to make sure and ensure they can get a lot of the chosen, you know, tied up with that religious spirit, so they cannot discover who they truly are through Christ and discover their destiny. So you get what I'm saying? Like a lot of them, the enemy will put them as decoys in these specific careers that require them to have encounters with chosen people. So the enemy is very strategic, but he's not smarter than God. But this is why God says we perish for lack of knowledge. Because when you don't know these things, you may fall into the trap. And eventually we find out these things. And when we find out these things, we can use discernment and become smarter. But this is why God will put specific people here to teach people about these things, right? But a lot of people are scared to speak up. What I want to say is these witches and warlocks that are used as decoys and that have contracts and requirements that they need to fulfill for the kingdom of darkness, again, they're disguised. A lot of them are disguised. They're not out there like that. The real ones that are in contract and work for the kingdom of darkness, they're not out there like that. There's specific rulers in the kingdom of darkness. So for instance, the witches and warlocks on earth that do these things that they're being required to do, you have to understand they're getting instructions also from Satan. And you have to understand that the instructions they get from Satan, either they get it from Satan directly, or they get it from the familiar spirits, the demonic spirits that communicate with Satan. Okay, there is a witch that is in hell, the kingdom of darkness, who is in charge of the witches and warlocks on earth. There is a demonic witch in hell that that is ruled under Satan, and she's one of the head demons in hell that's ruled under Satan, and she's in charge of the witches and warlocks that are on the earth. So she gives instructions to these demonic spirits or these familiar spirits, and they bring the instructions to the witches and warlocks who are under contract. There's just like how we have to fight just like how we have to fight like the Jezebel spirit of Baal, spirit of Belial. We have to fight Leviathan. We have to fight these specific spirits, and these specific spirits, they all are, a part of that one team, Kingdom of Darkness. Each demonic spirit has an assignment, has a section that they have to cover, right? So so the marine spirit will have a section that they have to cover, and like an assignment from Satan. And the main demonic witch in hell has an assignment that she has to cover. I actually saw it. God revealed it to me. It's very hard to explain, but I want to tell you that these witches and warlocks that attack us, they're not just attacking us because they just want to. They have assignments from Satan, and they have to fulfill these assignments, and they're getting the instructions from the head witch that is in the Kingdom of Darkness, who is also ruled by Satan. Okay, now I'm gonna say this. It's a lot to discuss. The reason why when we get closer to certain holidays like Halloween, the reason why you'll notice that there's a specific look for each scary thing that we see on Halloween. For instance, when we see a witch in the stores on Halloween, the witch has a pointy hat, the witch is wearing all black, the witch has a long nose, and the witch has like the bumps on her face, right? Even though there's different ways of how people will view this particular witch, they all have the same aesthetics. They all have that long black hat. Sometimes it's a green face, sometimes it's not a green face, but they all have that similar look. When we see the Reaper spirit on Halloween in stores or in decorations, why do you think you always see that black hood? So, and even though there's different representations of that spirit, sometimes you'll see it with the skeletal face, but it will always have that black hood. Or sometimes you'll see it without a face, but it will always have that black hood, right? The point of me saying all this is the reason why these looks have been the same for centuries is because these are actually how the main demonic spirits in hell, Kingdom of Darkness, this is exactly how they actually look. See, the witches on the earth, they won't look like witches. They're gonna look normal. You see what I'm saying? And you may not be able to tell they're a witch unless you're discerned. But the main witch in hell looks exactly like how we see the decorations on Halloween. The witch in hell has a long black pointy hat, a long nose with bumps, the face is green, and she has that black cape kind of thing, similar to what Maleficent wears. And she gives instructions to the demons who give instructions to the witches and warlocks. So I know it's very deep, and I know I probably shouldn't go more deep in that, but even the Reaper spirit looks exactly how we see it on Halloween. I know this because I was face to face with that spirit in the physical, not in my dream, in the physical. The reason why people have an idea as to how specific things look, and you'll see that everyone is agreeing to that particular look, is because there's people who can actually see the originals in the spirit because it's revealed to them. So this is one of the reasons why you got to be careful with Halloween, because these are actually how they look. Okay, understand something. Satan likes to mimic everything that God does. Just like God will have specific angels that work for him, and he will give them instructions that they have to carry out. it's the same concept with the kingdom of darkness. Okay. The witch, the main head witch that's in the kingdom of darkness, that gives instructions to the witches on the land, what God was showing me in a vision is that main head witch that gives instructions, it was a female, but what I saw, but it was a very scary sight, I will say that. But when I got up from seeing that and God revealed that to me, like what that demon looked like, I was like, holy cow. It was scary. She almost looks more scarier than Satan. So when God was showing it to me, God was showing me how the main head witch in the kingdom of darkness, her favorite tactic is the humiliation ritual. Because what God was showing me was that the demons were reporting to her about what the children of God were doing and how they were exposing things pertaining to the kingdom of darkness. And when the demons went to tell the witch, she got upset and she said, shame them. She got mad. She yelled and said, shame them. And when she yelled, shame them, she was giving them instructions. Then these demonic spirits went to these witches on the land, reported to them, and told them what to do, which is why the witches on the land that attack us, which is why they do humiliation rituals, right? To try to shame us, cause conflict, spells, and all of that, right? To cause humiliation. That's why you see a lot of God's people. Why do you think there's always a lot of God's people? You know, people are always trying to humiliate the prophets of God. Why do you think that is? And this is why I tell y'all, when y'all sit there and jump on hate trains and try to gossip and slander and ridicule, you are doing exactly what the main head witch in hell wants y'all to do. You are literally complying to her instructions without even realizing you're doing it. All because some of you guys who do this type of stuff, all because you want to hate and you want to ridicule, you will be quick to jump on a hate train in order to humiliate a child of God, not understanding where those instructions actually came from, and you are participating in it. This is why I tell y'all, do not slander, do not gossip, do not spread rumors, do not false witness, do not try to humiliate anyone out of envy and hate and all that stuff, because these types of instructions come from the kingdom of darkness. This is why they're detestable to God, because God knows obviously where it's all coming from, right? So I want to just share this with you guys. I love you guys. Bye.